Good evening, every pony and every creature. Welcome to tonight's podcast at DAG. As always, this is your host, Dratta Arcana, and welcome to Dratta Talks. And joining me tonight is special guest,
Jack Mugen.
Welcome, Jack, to the podcast.
Otherwise known as 2 Extreme 2008 here on YouTube, so yeah.
Definitely check out his channel, it's amazing.
Alright. Hopefully when I start back uploading again. Well, sometime during BronyCon I will, I promise.
Speaking of BronyCon and MLP, I'm crying right now. I'm holding my Twilight plushie and I'm crying because we have the start date of the starting of the last part of the final season.
Oh, you do? Yeah, lay it on me.
So it's gonna be that Saturday of BronyCon, August. I think it's 2nd or 3rd.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Well, the 3rd. The 3rd is on a Saturday, so
Yeah.
that's what you're meaning.
Yeah, it's gonna be August 3rd is the start of season 9 after the hiatus. It's a sad day when Dratta Talks starts talking about the end of MLP, and we've had some great episodes.
We've had a few.
We've had a few.
So far I was quite fond of the season, so yeah.
Well, it's not just season 9 that, we like to think back on. It's all seasons.
Of course.
Especially,
Of course.
Of course. Remember?
Especially seeing from where it began and up until now. We're surprised it lasted this long. Well, I definitely am.
The season 1 premiere.
Of course. When it comes to, I'm gonna do some quick maths really quick because we started the hiatus on episode 13 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
episode 13.
This upcoming one will be episode 14, and so from 14 all the way to 26, that is 12 episodes.
Yeah.
If my math is right. So
yeah, it should be.
That means 12 more weeks from August 3rd will be the final date. Let me see. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So with that being said, it looks like November 12th will be the date. If there are no more breaks, November 12th will be the last will be the final premiere.
Oh, that is going to be a sad day. And, some bronies are actually kind of both sad and happy that it's ending with, kind of the quality decreasing after a while. But, we loved our main 6, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I'm one of those ones that I am pretty glad that it is ending at this moment. But at the same time, it will be missed, and the only thing that will be here are the memories and the memories of the things that the fandom has created too. So,
and that's something that's interesting. The friends that we made through the fandom will always be with us.
Of course.
So, but with go ahead.
I'm sorry. Continue on.
Oh, I'm just it's good that we've made friends through the fandom and stuff, and a lot of the community has always been very supportive.
That's right. And I cannot tell you how many times there have been people who have made friends and made and changed people's lives due to how the show has impacted their lives, not just them themselves, but like how they interacted with others and whoever they met through the show, whether it's from a convention center, a meetup, or a chat group, things of that nature.
Well, so Jack, when did you join the fandom?
Okay, I was aware of the fandom around 2012, but I didn't actually I guess you could say, join in until around the hiatus between season 4 and season 5. So I was a little bit late, but when I was aware of it, I admit I was a pretty much anti-Brony at the time. So, excuse me. Yeah, I look back on those moments and laugh at the fact that I swore that when I first heard about My Little Pony, I swore it was gonna die out faster than a Harlem Shake. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I remember that fad back in college and people talking about it. You know, my college almost had a Harlem Shake video that they wanted to make. It was my professor's idea.
I gotcha.
But, you know, take us back. When back in 2012, you know, what made you an anti-Brony at that time? Because there was a lot of online, the fires of 4chan that they talk about. And
I'm going to be honest, I think it was more of the fact that it was more of the confusion. Like, I didn't understand why a girly cartoon with ponies had such big popularity amongst the meme community, which back then I was a big part of. So when I was keeping up with memes and stuff, and I was hearing more people referencing the show, and even channels that didn't start out as ponies were making references to it, and I'm like, why are you even acknowledging it? So yeah.
Well,
it was that.
We got a lot of great memes out of MLP.
Of course we did.
Since you were in the meme community, what were some of your favorites?
Around that time? That's a good question, because there was a lot of things that were around that time that were popular. The most notable one that I could think of around that time was the Gangnam Style. And like, it's funny because now that we have like now that we've reached a point now where you have people where K-pop is all the rage, I like to remind everybody that Gangnam Style is technically K-pop.
Well,
but yeah, but I think I'm going off on a tangent a little too much. But I'm trying to remember any other bigger memes that were up and popping around that time. But
well, the MLP specific ones, I remember when the Twi-Cane. I remember seeing something about the Twi-Cane and Sleeping Princess. You know, those were the MLP specific memes. And episode 100 definitely revisited a lot of those.
Yes, they did. And another thing that also topic is the fact that when it came to memes like the Twi-Cane, those were very specific, but like when most of the memes I was seeing resurface were like how I'll put this, they were like those old-fashioned text memes to where they were to where they had a picture of okay, one of the ones I can recall was whenever a GIF where Discord took out his eyeballs, shake them and threw them away, and the text read, "Thanks to you, I won't be needing these anymore." Oh, no, wait, I remember. "Thanks to that post, I won't be using these anymore." Yeah. There was a bunch of those, and like there were YouTube videos. There were even some YouTube videos who weren't even Brony channels that were making references to it, to ponies in general. Like if I can remember off the top of my head, damn it, I can't remember it. But there's this. I can't remember the channel's name, but I remember one of their videos involved how to staple your hand, and when you clicked on the video, like it was about a dude lecturing the viewer, why did you click on his video? This shit's dangerous. Why would you even want to know how to do this? And blah blah blah. And in the background, you see his partner like getting ready to actually staple his hand, and when he does, the dude turns around and screams at him like, "Is this this what you wanted to see? I hope you're happy or something like that. I can't remember that channel's name, but it was that channel that started releasing Brony content, and I'm like, or at least making references to the Brony fandom, and I'm in the back just cringing my head off, like, why are you giving this any attention?
Well, and then John Delancey, at some point after season 2, decided to make that documentary, Brony's The Unexpected Journey. And at around, I think, just a little before that, Saber Sparks came out with a 2-parter documentary. Talking about it.
I have seen a 2-parter documentary, but I have not seen the I don't think I've seen the one with John Delancey did. I might have, but forgot about it.
Well, I was always a big fan of documentaries and stuff, and I watched both of them, and both of them are extremely well done. John Delancey's one is more up for the Brony fandom to try to show it in a positive light, versus Saber Sparks, which was designed to approach everything from an analytical standpoint.
Ah, I see. That made a lot more sense. There were other I'm trying to think of some other things that came out of the fandom that made me like ease up into it. But one of the things I could safely say that made me ease up to the fandom during my AntiBrony stage was the music. I accidentally found 2 songs that were actually Brony songs that I actually fell in love with. I can't remember which one I found first, but the 2 songs that I'm referring to were Discord and the Rainbow Factory.
Ah, yes, the fandom made songs. Yeah, Discord by Tombstone and Rainbow Factory. I forget who did it, but we won't go too deep into that one. But, as the fandom has made fantastic music. We had music from the Aviators, Tombstone, Prince Whatever is still making music in the fandom and stuff. And then we have many Brony musicians. And at the same time, the show puts out phenomenal music.
Of course.
Like This Day Aria, or the one sung by Diamond Tiara during the Crusaders of the Lost Mark.
Of course. And there were a few of my favorite songs from the show was definitely Pinkie Pie's Smile song and both of Archer's songs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't believe I just said her full name.
But the smile song is a classic in the fandom. And personally, I'm actually not the largest fan of it. I prefer This Day Aria, personally. I really like This Day Aria. Let the Rainbow Remind You.
Of course.
Those are kind of my more preferred, but at the same time, this show has touched the hearts of so many bronies, and even people that weren't bronies.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the type to, dabble into the fandom as much as, like, per se, you and me, because ironically enough, the whole reason why I even tried the show out was not because of the fandom works. The fandom works, don't get me wrong, the fandom works just gave me a little more respect for bronies, but at that time I wasn't going to try the show until my little brother accidentally introduced me to it.
Well, that's one way to get into the fandom. Probably the best way to get into the fandom. Have your little brother convince you that it's a good show. Meanwhile,
I mean, it's not that he convinced me. It's more the fact that he was casually watching it in the living room. Like, it wasn't even his main focus. Like, he saw it as a okay show for him, but he asked me to give it a shot while I was looking for the remote trying to change the TV. But you know, when he left, I ended up just paying attention to what was going on the TV and kind of gave up and didn't realize it. And I still remember that episode. I still remember the episode that was playing at that time because that was a life-changing experience for me. It was the episode of Rarity and the Diamond Dogs.
Oh yes, that episode.
Yes.
I'm not whining.
This is whining. Oh my god.
That was one of those episodes that actually made me realize that doing house chores wasn't all that bad.
Both. Nice to know.
A little secret from Dratta. But you know, looking back, for me, I joined the fandom because I kept hearing about the show from other people online, you know, that were part of my video game community at the time in my guild. And it's like, you know, once I started it, I was already living alone. I didn't really have too much family. And, you know, I didn't really have any friends at the time either. I didn't know anyone. So when I got into the fandom, it changed my life when I entered the fandom and meeting everyone, and eventually you, Jack.
Of course.
You know, just getting into the fandom is what changed my life. The show, a lot of the lessons it had were things I had already experienced, which is probably why it connected with me.
Oh. Same for you too then, huh?
Yeah. The big one that I always have a hard time going back to is the Thanks for the Memories.
Oh.
I personally cannot watch that episode because it's too depressing for me. Because I personally have lost loved ones already. Like, I've lost my father when I first saw that episode. So I kind of can't watch it because it's really emotional for me. But, you know, a lot of the life lessons that come from these episodes and stuff stick with us. And I think that's what made this show so spectacular.
I gotcha.
What about for you?
For me, what made me stick around was what made me get into it was the fact that while I was watching it, I loved while I was watching the Rarity and Diamond Dogs episode, I loved how appealing it was. Like, it was eyes, so it was able for me to hook my attention, but at the same time, what was going on in the screen was actually enough to, you know, keep me focused on it. And that was the hook, but what kept me going was the story, because when I started the first episode of thank you very much. When I started the first episode with Celestia and Luna, their rivalry was like for the longest was the thing that got me hooked onto the show as a whole. Like, I think overall my favorite subplot of the entire series was Celestia and Luna's rivalry. And I was pretty hyped anytime there was an episode that involved any of the two.
And I absolutely agree. My personal favorite in that rivalry, of course, is Princess Luna, but that's just me. And
I gotcha.
So I loved episodes like A Royal Problem, or, you know, especially the season 1, episode 2. You know, to see that relationship start between Celestia and Luna was just incredible, and the fan work that came out of that is absolutely spectacular.
Of course.
So go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was reading something. Carry on.
So, with the show coming to an end and stuff, I don't think the fandom's gonna go anywhere, but we're definitely seeing conventions move into either leaving permanently, like BronyCon, or we're seeing, conventions deciding to kind of retire almost. It's a sad day when, BronyCon it was a sad day when BronyCon said that they were ending in 2019. And with the show ending, the question becomes how many of us are still going to have pony OCs, and, what's kind of our future here? We're not going to abandon the friends we made, obviously, but what will happen to the Brony YouTubers, the fin fiction writers, or, the fans in general? How many of us are just going to stick around, especially those that weren't in the fandom?
Now, I do have a, theory of what's going to happen, and I've seen this happen before, and I've seen something similar happen with the Sonic fandom. Now, I know I don't want to call myself a saint or anything like that, but I feel like this might legit happen when the series ends, because what's going to happen, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like this will actually happen, is that when Gen 5 comes out, there will be a few bronies from Gen 4 that will actually give it a shot, and probably half of those will probably like it, and the others will probably be a little turned off about how much it differentiated from the 4th generation. There will be those that will have the memories, the nostalgia from the 4th generation cloud their judgment on the 5th generation, even if by some miracle that the 5th generation does everything better than the 4th generation did. There will always be those that hold the 4th generation onto a high pedestal because of the nostalgia and memories that it left us. And what's going to end up happening is that there will be people that probably haven't even been introduced to the 4th generation. Well, as the months and years go on, when the 5th generation finally reveals itself and the series comes on, there will be a generation of new bronies who probably have not been introduced to the 4th generation, or probably heard of it but never gave it a shot, but are more drawn to the 5th generation. And what's going to happen eventually is there will be this split fan base amongst the Gen 4, amongst the people who grew up on Gen 4 and love Gen 4, and the newer, slightly more younger audience of the Gen 5 ponies. And maybe some of the people who have, the minority of people who have actually transferred over from Gen 4 to Gen 5. Because something similar like this happened during the Sonic fan base way back 2 decades ago, when Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 came on the scene, and they were like the first 3D Sonic games. And a lot of the younger generation fell in love with the 3D Sonic games, but you had like the older people who were more attached to the 2D Sonic games. I feel like that same thing is going to happen with the Gen 4 and Gen 5 transition. It's going to be a split fan base, and it will
Hey Jack, did you ever watch my podcast on MLP Is It the End?
I have not. I'm sorry.
What you just said was literally the entire podcast of that episode.
Really?
You just reiterated, without even knowing it, my exact podcast on what's going to happen to the fandom, because that is precisely my theory. Is we're going to have these bronies that are going to, when Gen 4 ends and Gen 5 finally comes out, they will swear by Gen 4. They will swear by it. And then there's going to be those that are going to try out Gen 5. And then the ones that do try out Gen 5 may like it and may not. And I know personally for me, I'm going to give Gen 5 a chance. at least.
Of course.
Because it'd be unfair for me not to do that. But and then there's going to come this, if conventions are still around, then there's going to be this thing that I said at conventions where you run into all your bronies, and then the question that's going to come up is, so are you a Gen 4 only person, or do you actually like Gen 5?
In fact, for all we know, the Gen 5 bronies might have a different name for all we know.
For all we know, yeah.
Probably even next gen bronies or something. I don't know.
So, something, you know, maybe it'll be Brony 2.0. Or Brony X.
Or maybe Brony 5? No, wait. Fifth gen bronies? We'll probably just end up calling them 5th gen bronies, 4th gen bronies for all we know.
And then the ones in the middle, I guess we'll call 4.5.
But then again, we do have then again, another thing to also point out is that this has already happened, but on a smaller scale when Gen 4 came out. Was that a lot of the girls who grew up with the previous gens actually transitioned on to Gen 4 pretty easily. But now, keep in mind, this is the minority, but there is still a few people out there who would swear on the previous gens, other than Gen 4.
Yeah,
I've personally met one on a me note that she preferred Gen 1 over Gen 4. So there'll probably be this small minority, but in this case, when we transition from Gen 4 to Gen 5, it will be like that, but except the minority will be the majority on this case because of how big Gen 4's impact was.
Yeah. And Gen 4 did have a giant impact, especially around the time that it came out, when the internet was finally capable of handling all this. It was like the perfect timing for it to come out, because the internet had just become this central hub. It hadn't been perfected yet, and it's still not perfected, but it was a lot faster in 2011 than it was, you know, the year or two prior.
I mean, that could also be I like to also attribute the timing to the great animation renaissance too, also because around that time a lot of also higher quality shows were also coming out around that same time, like a regular show, Adventure Time.
Yeah.
It was these shows that were coming out that were basically kickstarting the great animation renaissance, as Saber Sparks calls it.
Yeah.
That, you know, made better quality cartoons that were that were basically better in recent years.
Oh yeah.
Better than the ones in recent. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching, Powerpuff Girls when I was a kid. It was a good show, but it didn't last very long, unfortunately. But I feel like that My Little Pony has had such dedication to it. The staff have been very passionate about it. The actors and actresses have always had fun with their lines, and you can see their hard work in the episodes.
Of course.
So, well, I think we're almost at about time. So, any final thoughts, Jack? Any final memories you'd like to share?
Not really a memory per se, but I'd like to add like a little PSA for anyone who is watching the podcast to, you know, if you do have your doubts on Gen 5, at least give it a shot. Turn up, and also when you're going into Gen 5, if you do try it out, also remember that this is not Gen 4. The characters, you know, they will probably have a few personality changes, just like from the transition from G3 to Gen 4. There will be personality changes. They're not going to be the same. There may be some tie-ins, but it's not going to be something having to do with the story. It'll be like a whole other universe. This is a whole other generation. So when you're seeing Gen 5, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I'd like to agree here with Jack. You know, when Gen 5 comes out, give it a chance. That's, you know, if you watch the first episode, at least, you know, if you don't like it, you don't have to continue. But if you do like it, be sure to continue watching. And as always, guys, this is Dratta Arcana at Dratta Talks with very, very sad, crying eyes to seeing the show finally coming to its conclusion. And as always, you can contact me at Dratta Arcana Gaming on Facebook or dratta.arcana@gmail.com. Or you can join my Discord, the link will be in the description. And this is Dratta Arcana with special guests
Jack Mugen,
and
to Extreme 2008.
And check out his channel when you get the chance. And we'll see you guys on the next video.
All right.